I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Over here in West Michigan, we're having a snowy night, and we have members of various committees on the call with us, along with our Executive Director, Burgess, who is going to be presenting an update on our strategic plan. Here now in November 2018, we're about halfway through the plan that the board adopted, and it adjusts as we go. So at our last board meeting in the beginning of October, the board did update some of the objectives, and we felt it was very helpful to be able to keep the committees up to date on where we are in the strategic plan, because you play such a valuable role in helping the board fulfill its duties by doing your work so diligently. So Karen will give us that update. At the end of the presentation, we definitely want to have time for some interaction. Particularly, I would be curious for how you feel that this could affect, your committee, or what your perspectives are for how the plan might impact some of the work that you have going on or anticipate completing for the MDA with the remainder of the year. So when we get to that point, just let us know via the chat box, or underneath participants, there's a chat box, and then I can see that. We'll give the instruction to unmute your mic, and you'll be able to ask that so all can hear. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Karen, who will be taking us through the updated strategic plan. Karen?
Thank you, Deb. So give me a second. I will share my screen. So here we go. I want to give you a strategic plan update, and needless to say, when the board acted in October, we did not scrap the old plan and completely start from scratch. No, what happened was that as we go along, we look at our progress on the different objectives. Once an objective is completed, it will be rolled off and a new objective set. So we want to continuously improve, continuously make progress on our strategic plan. So, see, I have a little technology issue here with my cursor. There we go. So here is one thing that did not change at all, was our strategic plan goals. These are broad goals. They are kind of timeless goals, and they are goals that are very aspirational in their nature. So we actually have two membership strategic plan goals. The first is to deliver exceptional member value, and the second is to increase member participation. Membership, of course, is the bedrock of our association, so I think our board felt comfortable with the idea that we would have two membership-focused goals. Our financial goal is, you want to make sure if you got no money, you got no company, you got no association. So we need to be sure to assure our organizational sustainability. And then our fourth goal is an organizational one, and we want to make sure that the capacity of our organization is what we need in order to meet the needs of our MDA members. So I'm going to walk through the objectives in each area. We have a total of 6 objectives on the strategic plan. The number has not changed. So our first, when it comes to a member value objective, we continue to want to maintain or increase the percentage of members who give the MDA top scores on our member value ratings. And we judge this by doing surveys, episodic surveys. And luckily, our members are really great about completing surveys. And what we have found since we set our baseline is that we have continued to have very similar scores. They're high, but we're not seeing huge increases. Not too surprising, since it's only been about a year and a half since we actually did the baseline measure. So the strategies that we have identified to accomplish our member value objective is, first, to meet dentist and dental team needs for CE and training. And I think many people on the call are aware that we have done a lot of new things over the past couple of years. We have the Certified Dental Business Professional Program. We have a relationship with the World Continuing Education Alliance. We've done a number of webinars and online CE. And you know, even just the human trafficking training, I have been very impressed with the fact that about 1,000 people have taken our online CE for human trafficking, and that's a required course for licensed professionals. So it's really, we know, meeting a need. This year, our focus will be to look at evaluating annual session, looking at a lot of data, looking at a lot of information to see how can we get even more impact for more members out of the MDA annual session. Our second strategy is help members succeed by providing practice management resources. Dentists on the Committee for Member Success are probably most familiar with all we have done in the practice management arena. And what we've identified through some of our surveys and looking at our information is that late stage dentists, those dentists who are nearing retirement but not quite ready to retire, are a target market that really we need to develop new resources for them. And with the baby boomers reaching those late stage careers, it's particularly important because there's going to be so many going through this. So we'll be focusing on late stage dentists with a new publication about transitioning to retirement. There are also a number of other areas of our society that are looking at how can we increase and focus specifically on these dentists so that they see value and want to continue to be a member all the way until the time that they do retire and beyond. The second slide shows that we also have one more strategy on member value, which is to favorably position the profession and MDA members with legislators and the public. So you can see we have a lot of advocacy initiatives that are underway, very important strategies for the mid-level challenge that we continue to see. I think we're entering our 5th or 6th year dealing with mid-levels. We need to address telehealth legislation, rules, and regulations. We wish to continue to work on specialty recognition because that's a particular challenge for us here in Michigan. And then when it comes to the public in particular, we definitely want to implement changes to reflect the new priorities for the MDA Public Awareness Campaign. I think most people are probably aware that we have historically, over the past few years, been focusing on our Find a Dentist tool and driving members of the public who are looking for dentists to find a dentist in an effort to kind of put patients in the chairs of our members. Well, a survey that we did with our membership identified the fact that most members, a vast majority of members, really want the emphasis on more oral health literacy for the public. So we're kind of switching up our focus, and we are now going to be looking primarily at public education and about 20% of our effort into Find a Dentist. Member participation, you might remember, is the second goal, and we have a couple of objectives related to member participation. One is the annual member retention rate will be 96% or better. Just to let you know, we're a little over 96% right now, and it's not the end of the year yet, so we are likely to achieve that objective, but that's one of those objectives that has to be redone every single year. When it comes to our strategies for this, we really want to focus on those dentists who are going from a discounted rate to the full dues paying rates. And what does that mean? That means we want to create some stickiness around membership, make sure they're aware of everything that's available to them. And we want to do that by making sure that we orient new members very thoroughly. And then we also want to make sure that when we communicate to these members, we do it in collaboration with our component dental societies. The second strategy that's very important is delivering personal member service. One thing I'd like to mention is, you know, when I first came to the MDA, I was aware that MDA members overwhelmingly had good experiences with the Michigan Dental Association and with the staff here. And so we want to build on that. And right now, I think the biggest thing is for us to increase the awareness of the member concierge service and also make sure that the service that is being delivered is the best it can possibly be. Our second objective relating to member participation is we really need to maintain the number of full dues paying members while maintaining an active market share of 75% or greater. So for those of us on the call, you might be happy to hear that right now our market share is 75.4%. We could see a little improvement in that between now and the end of the year, because December 31st is when the official snapshot happens. But we're going to accomplish that by focusing on our 4 largest components, because that is where most of the members and the non-members are. We also need to focus on some underrepresented segments. That would mean focusing on diversity and inclusion, because there is a membership market share gap with more diverse dentists. And then also making sure that we offer value and are reaching out to the dentists who are in a large group practice environment. The final strategy for that is to reach out and enhance market share for non-Michigan dentists. And you might think, what does she mean by that? Because what are non-Michigan dentists? And what we really mean is dentists who are moving to Michigan from another state. So whether they are recent grads that went to dental school elsewhere and now they're moving into our state, or people who perhaps have gotten married and moved into our state, or gotten a job here. Every year there's people who get first-time licensure right here in Michigan who are not Michigan natives. So we have a whole strategy of reaching out to those folks because there's a membership market share gap there. So that is member participation. Let's talk about finance. This is an objective that did change in October as well. We had previously said that every budget needed to be in the black. We recognize that a little variability where it's in the black by quite a bit, all the way down to perhaps in the red a tiny bit, is not a problem. So the board decided, with the input of our board committee on finance, that they thought it would be better to have the annual budget that supports the strategic plan, does what it needs to do, and encourages a surplus budget. Our strategies for accomplishing that is to budget for periodic small dues increases. We want to continue to grow our non-dues revenue, and you can see there that we're expecting our radiography training program, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but you may not know that we are expanding that program to other states and starting it with the state of Florida in early 2019. We also expect that our job board, as it grows and becomes more prominent within the state, will return more non-dues revenue to the MDA. And then, of course, you really want to make sure that we're using the money in our reserves to generate more money, and it's very important that we maintain positive investment returns compared to our benchmarks. And I'm sure you're all familiar with what the market is doing these days. So we had a very good year up till now. I believe we're seeing a little bit of a downturn, but hopefully we'll bounce back up. Our organizational goals, we do have 2 objectives. One is to ensure that mechanisms are in place to support components serving our members. And the focus there is on our component dental societies. We want to make sure that the components have what they need in terms of a pipeline and well-qualified volunteer leadership. So we want to help with that. We also want to help provide a support structure that increases member value at the component level and helps components engage their members. So to that end, the President Peters has appointed a component work group that is going to be chaired by Dr. Steve Maroff, and that work group will be focusing on both of those strategies. Finally, there's a second organizational objective that has to do with capacity at the MDA, both in terms of volunteer leadership and our MDA staff. We want to enhance processes to support strategic focus and effective implementation. So the strategies include a strategic focus for the board, which I'm sure Dr. Peters could speak to this very eloquently. We have a new format for our agenda. We're incorporating more of a focus on strategic and generative discussion. One side effect of this is that it's really important for the board to let the committees do their work and not to redo committee work. And as a result, I think if you go to a board meeting, you will see that a lot of the reports that are generated by the committees end up placed now on the consent calendar. And what that means is that a board member may easily pull an item off the consent calendar. But if the board as a whole looks at the report and agrees that the committee has done a good job and that the recommendation should be approved, it's not necessary to belabor that. They can just pass it on the consent calendar, and that is actually a sign that the committee has done a good job of bringing things forward. On the staff side, I'm very proud of the MDA staff, and I think our board is as well. We have a very capable team, and one of the things that we want to do is give them more time to do the stuff that makes a difference to you as a member. So we've taken a look at some of the processes that we have that are time consuming and maybe inefficient, and we'll be working over the next 12 months to make changes to about 8 processes that we have identified. In addition, your MDA staff are the people that deliver the value to the members on a day-to-day basis. So we want to make sure that our staff is fully capable and well-trained, which means an investment in continuing education, both in-house and outside continuing education. So that is the end of my part of the strategic update. I hope you feel that as you look at this, that this is something that is likely to have an impact on you and your committees. Member value in particular and the ability to engage our members is something that every committee has a role in fulfilling that. So, and I think some folks more than others will see it very easily. So let me stop sharing the screen and we will get back to the discussion portion of our evening. There we go.
Great. Thanks, Karen. I just want to, highlight when you made the comment about the new strategic focus for the board. So, we did a tender retreat and we looked at the way the board looks at reports. And I want to emphasize the importance that, our members, you do by doing the committee work for the board, your committees of the board. And as such, there's a lot of value there. And we've gone through a process on the board of helping the board trust and understand that when we have a lot of discussion on things, we need to bring more people in. And that's quite frankly where our committee structure is so strong. So 1, thank you. 2, if you have something coming to the board, I just want to emphasize, give me a heads up of different things that maybe were more challenging in the conversation, or it's just so that I can help to make sure that the will of the committee is facilitated properly when if the resolution is coming forward or if the report is coming forward. I think that knowing what all could happen is very critical to these discussions. So I have opened the participant window where there's a chat, which means that I can see all of you, all of your names. And I'm curious for the people who are on the call, if anyone has any feedback over the strategic plan goals as Karen presented and how you see that working in with some work in front of your committee. If you could please share, or challenges, if there's anyone that has anything they would like to add. I'm halfway through my year as president, and as I go out into different components, I will say that one of the strategic goals of increasing the awareness of the member concierge is something that is right in my presentation. And I say it's a really cool feature because I don't know too many other state dental societies with this capacity. And it's a surprising, the members, when they hear that, they're surprised because though they always know that they've gotten great service, they feel there's that extra effort or that connection the MDA is going to help make sure they can continue to do that. So that is how I'm trying to help fulfill that goal, is putting it in my remarks when I visit the components on behalf of the MDA. So let me go back. Anyone else have anything? What about, is there any challenges that you see coming forward with the goals that you have in front of you now, of your committees, that you would like to ask a question on? And then probably finally moving into these last few months, because in February, usually the board looks at the objectives for the committees. You'll have the strategic plan in front of you, and your feedback as well of other things that could be included into your own committee's goals, objectives would be very helpful, knowing the strategic plan.
So I hear a lot of silence out there, Dr. Deb.
Yeah.
And that could mean that they're still taking this in and thinking it over. So we will be archiving the webinar and encouraging other committee members to view it. I know that there were a number of people who contacted me to ask if it was going to be recorded, so that is good news. They're interested. And for staff, I know will be talking with their committee chairs and with their committees at their next meetings, just to make sure, because we do have a lot of committees that are aligned with our strategic plan. And for example, I know that Dr. Lambert and Dave Foe will be talking just on the 28th, later this month. The Member Success Committee is meeting, and I believe that the late stage retirement /retirement members are on the agenda for that committee.
Sounds great. So again, I thank everyone for their time. Again, you may be viewing this later on the internet, and appreciate all that all people do, members and the MDA team, to help our members be successful. And Karen, thank you for giving us an update on the strategic plan. It was very helpful.
It's my pleasure, and everybody have a great night.